Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Craig from All Tech Together, bringing you a new product review. And today, I'll be taking a look at the Sound Blaster X Vanguard K08 keyboard from Creative. In the interest of full disclosure, Creative sent me this keyboard, but under no circumstance will I compromise my ethics. This will be a totally honest and unbiased review. Now, it should be noted that I am not a keyboard snob. And I believe that as long as you like a keyboard, then it's a good one, regardless of price or feature set. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at this keyboard. This keyboard comes in at a price of $139.99 Canadian, which is a lot of money. So it would be fair to say that a certain quality must be present. The body of this keyboard is very stiff and has solid feeling high quality plastic, which is nice, but at the end of the day it's still plastic. I have no doubt that it'll take a fair amount of abuse, but it's just something to be aware of. Coming out of the back of the keyboard is a very thick braided cable that terminates with two USB 2.0 connections. One of these USB is for power of the keyboard. The other USB is for the built-in pass-through on the back of the board. In my opinion, a USB pass-through is a really nice addition, as it moves one of your rear I/O USB to the keyboard for other uses. It would have been nice to see a USB 3.0 pass-through, but it is what it is. The only real downfall to the hardware-wise is the included wrist rest. The wrist rest is comfortable and well built, but doesn't actually clip onto the keyboard. It more or less just sort of sits in. If you're not going to move your keyboard, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But if you do, then I think it'd be really frustrating. Earlier I said that I'm not a keyboard snob. But in saying that, there is one thing that I must have on any keyboard. And that is a dedicated volume control. My Logitech G810 has them. My Corsair Vengeance K65 has them. To put it bluntly, it's a cost of living upgrade that I can't live without. I am happy to say that the Vanguard K08 also has a dedicated volume scroll that is fantastic. It is much more natural to reach with my right hand and just push the volume up and down, rather than having to push a function button and then another button. Now, this is where some of you will say, well, Craig, just assign a button to do volume up and volume down. And I get that, but it's just more convenient for me and possibly for you also, just to do this. There are also some dedicated media keys that allow for easier media consuming experience, and a Windows lock key for gaming, so that you don't accidentally hit the Windows key and kick yourself out of the game, which can be super frustrating. An LED brightness control up here as well, which will dim the RGB, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Also a dedicated mute button, and all the media controls are right at your fingertips. Now on to the most controversial subject when looking at a keyboard, and that's the switch type. Everyone has their own preferences when it comes to like Cherry MX switches or Kale switches, and with more and more manufacturers of keyboards making their own in-house switches like Razer and Logitech, there are tons of them to try and judge. The Vanguard has what it's calling the press switches that are co-designed with Omron, who is most known for their mouse switches. PRES is an acronym for Perceive, React, Execute switches, which to me sounds like buzzword marketing hype. They say that the switch has a travel distance of 1.5 millimeters before actuation, rather than the normal 2 millimeters travel distance. All this is good, but 0.5 millimeters is a very small difference, and I'm not sure if the average gamer would really notice a difference. One thing that I am impressed with is the 70 million keystrokes that each switch can withstand. I can't be 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain that the switches on the Vanguard and the Roamer G switches used by Logitech are the same switch. or at least very close to the same. During my testing of the keyboard, the switches felt nice and responsive, with no mushy feeling whatsoever, with the exception of these media buttons. There is no tactile bump, and all of them are very quiet. So if that's your thing, you need to look elsewhere. With 26 key rollover and the added macro keys on the left side, you should never have a problem when gaming or typing. When purchasing an RGB keyboard like this, then it'd be safe to say that RGB is an important consideration for you. So let's take a look at that, shall we? Much like the Logitech keyboard, the LEDs are positioned in the center of the switch, rather than the outside perimeter like on Cherry MX. This allows the light to be better directed than scattered. There's also a white backplate that does allow for a nice underglow effect around each key that really helps make the color diffuse nicely over the board. With the exception of the media keys, every key can have its own color assigned, which is nice for certain tasks, as well as the decidedly gamer-esque looking X in the top right hand corner. You can change that to your liking as well. With all the RGB going on here, it is imperative that the software is set up to make it both functional and easy to use. So let's take a look at the software. Alright, so here's a look at the software of the Vanguard K08. Now, it's very standard looking software. You will see up here that I also have a Katana hooked up to my setup. That's what I use for my speaker setting. So just, yours won't say that. But here we have the Vanguard selected up here. So if you do have other creative peripherals, they can all run through this Sound Blaster Connect software. So that's kind of nice to have one central hub. Now, I also do, you'll notice up in the top right hand corner of your screen, I have a camera pointing at my keyboard because I want to show just a couple things, what's happening, and just sort of how this lighting works in real time. Please disregard the blue light sort of behind me. That's one of my case fans, but you'll sort of understand. Even though you can't see the text on the keyboard, you'll still get the idea. And so one of the problems I have with the software of this keyboard is the fact that it's really laggy, in my opinion. So if you look right now, I have it set up in this solo orange sort of thing. Now, if I want to change it to wave rainbow, very easy to do. I just click on that. But you'll notice there's a lag between when I clicked on it to when it changes color. If I come down here and say, okay, I want to pulsate red, I click on it, freezes, goes. It's not a huge deal, but it's something that I figure that creative should just be a little bit better at. Okay? I don't want to harp on them too much, but I just feel like these companies should be better with the software as opposed to just the hardware themselves. I know a lot of the times Razer Synapse has problems. Even the Logitech software can have problems here and there. And I just want them to be a little bit more streamlined with that software. So on here we have the lighting tab up here in the top left corner. And this is where you can set all your preset lighting. You can also set custom, like I said before. You can come in here and I can say, okay, you know what? I want number 4 here to be blue. Hit OK, and you'll see on your screen there that number 4 is blue. You can see it kind of in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. All right, I want the up arrow to be red. Click OK, and boom, up arrow is red. So it really lends itself to a lot of customization. And if you're somebody who wants certain macro keys done, and we'll get into that in a second here, certain colors, you could do that actually very, very easily. So that's the lighting. It's really intuitive. I can even click on the red X up here, and I can change it. I don't know, let's go green. Sure, why not? Boom. It's now green up there. And it is in fact green on my keyboard as well. So it's really nice, but like I said before too, you can't change the media keys. They are sort of like an off-white type thing. And so that's just going to be kind of how it is. But all the main keys, you can change to your heart's content. So once we're done here, we can come over here to performance. We can set the repeat delay. We can set the repeat rate, and then we can set our polling rate. And I don't know why they have it set that you can set it down to 125 polling rate. That's how many times the keyboard, talks to your computer, to put it in a very reductive way. You want it to talk as much as possible. So I think it should just stay at 1,000, and they shouldn't even give people a chance, I guess. If you can think of a reason, that you'd want it down to like 125 or less than 1,000, put in the comments below, because I would love to know. I can never figure that out. And then we can come over here to the macros. And here I can set M1, M2, M3, M4, M5 down the left-hand side of my keyboard. And I can set any key I want. Very easy. I just click on the spacebar, said, okay, what do I want the spacebar to be? Do I want it to be a different keyboard? What do I want to remap it to? Just hit the button. So I want it to be, I don't know, O. Done. Hit enter. Click off it, and there we go. That that spacebar is now enter, which I don't want that to be enter because that's gonna drive me nuts. But we'll change it back to backspace. Go to Alt, change it to whatever we want. M5, M4, any key on here I can change to whatever I want. So if you're an MMO player and you want, let's say, F4 to be a combo that you use repeatedly, by all means, you can just set F4 to whatever you want. You can do recordings of it, you can do keyboard, you can do mouse settings, or you can disable it straight out. Now F4 just simply doesn't work. And if you wanted to do that, you could go ahead and do that easy like that. I'm going to re-enable F4. There we go. And it's ready to go. So the software is nice. It's easy to understand, but like I said a little bit ago, it's very laggy and buggy. All in all, this is a good showing for Creative and their first keyboard. There are a couple of small things that I'd like to have seen, like a 3.0 pass-through and a better attachment method for the wrist rest. Also, I think the software needs to be faster when changing settings. But by far the biggest trouble is the price. When you are breaking into the mechanical keyboard market and your price is $139.99 Canadian and a consumer sees Corsair or Razer's offerings, they may be willing to spend some extra dough for the name that comes with those other brands. I really hope that Creative continues to make keyboards and pushes the boundaries like they do with their audio products. Well, that's it for this review. Remember, if you like what I do here, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment to be entered into the 100 subscriber giveaway. Again, my name is Craig from All Tech Together, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.